Good afternoon. This is Media Center Ukraine, Odessa. We're starting our working day, and we're starting it with the briefing of Dmytro Pletenchuk, spokesman of the Ukrainian Navy. He will tell us about the specifics of sea breeze naval exercises this year. Dmytro, the floor is yours. Good afternoon, everyone. This year, we have returned to the practice of sea breeze naval exercises. As you remember, we didn't have them last year because of the reasons which are well understood by everyone, unfortunately. But this year, these exercises have been resumed, and they will be joined by our international partners. Firstly, the UK and the United States, and generally there will be 18 states participating in the exercises. And the main topic is different because, first of all, now we are focusing on the activities of the Ukrainian Navy after the end of the war, after our victory, because one of the main tasks will be to demine the water area of the Black Sea to ensure safe navigation. These issues, of course, are important already now, but after the war, we will be able to settle everything and to find solution. That's why current exercises will be aimed at how to organize work of headquarters, of how to organize work of fleet for demining activities. Two mine vessels will be involved from our side of the Sandao class that have been that were provided by the UK after the start of the full-scale invasion, and the names of the ships are Cherkasy and Chernihiv. And of course, as you remember, we had the trawlers in Crimea with the same names. And also there is quite an interesting thing. The commander of the first rank Fetish was actually the commander of one of the trawlers, and now he heads these exercises in the UK. As far as I understand, these exercises mean that the Ukrainian Navy will be even more integrated after the victory with the US Navy and the UK Navy. Do you plan just to have additional trawlers in the Ukrainian fleet? It is too soon to discuss it now. Some of the projects are under development, so nothing was frozen during the full-scale invasion, and the river fleet has been created, and the coastal rocket units, the well-known Neptunes, the Dawn, the battleship Moscow were created. So we continue developing these activities, including with the support of our foreign partners. And the training of our Navy continues all the time in different countries. As for the integration in the NATO system, I'd like to say that our Navy was always a pioneer. And before the start of the Russia-Ukrainian war in 2014, a lot has been done. So even before the full-scale invasion, some of the units were accessed in terms of the meeting the NATO requirements. This is as for the land units and Navy. And every year we were tested. The results were positive. And you're absolutely right when you say that this will only deepen our cooperation. We will receive the needed experience in cooperating with the NATO military units, and we also share our unique experience because it has been a long time when someone really fought with the Russians. So this is a live cooperation that we have now. other Black Sea countries will be involved in demining of the Black Sea. And first of all, Turkey will be involved in the training because, for example, they are now constructing corvettes for Ukraine. Yes, Turkey continues constructing corvettes, Ada class, the modern one. That are more advantageous than Russian flagships, and corvettes are better equipped. They have more modern systems and weaponry. And when it comes to minesweepers of the Sandow class, despite the fact that UK now has doing other iteration of deminers, because it is not classic minesweepers as they had during the Second World War. These are robotized systems to detect and to demine. Russians don't have such ships in their navy, because for the UK, they believe that this is not like modern equipment, but still it is not reachable by our enemies. After the dawning of the Moscow battleship, the Russians continue the activities in the Black Sea, because first it was told that because of the dawning of Moscow battleship, they had to decrease the activities and to remove their fleet to the eastern part of Crimea. And you remember that at the beginning of the full-scale invasion, we could see on the Odessa horizon of the battleships of the Russian Federation. Now it is impossible. You can't see that ships. The destruction of the Moscow ship was not only a significant damage to the Russia's image, because that was their flagship, but it is important to understand that the ship provided intelligence to the whole Russian fleet, and also covered the aerial attacks. There were 3 echelons of anti-aircraft defense, which is quite serious. And now other ships, they don't have such possibilities and capacities in the Black Sea, I mean Russian ships. And thanks to the fact that Turkey does not allow the military ships through Bosphorus, they cannot just filling gaps, and that's why they need to stay on like big distance from us, so they could hide in near Sevastopol, but now they don't feel comfortable there. And now they mainly stay in northern eastern part of the Black Sea, and this is really true. And now we have information that they will restructure somehow their units there, and it will be a Azov regional group. But to say the truth, it doesn't have any sense because, for example, we remember well the situation in Berdansk. The ship was hit there. A question. I have a question to Dmytro Pletenchuk. As far as we understand, when it comes to safety and security issues, the minesweepers Chernihiv and Cherkasy will be in one of the British ports after the end of this year's sea breeze naval exercises. It is clear. But what event, what turn point in this war will become a precondition for these minesweepers to call to the point of dislocation in Ukraine, in the port of Odessa or in another port? So what is the precondition? And one more question. Do you have now understanding of the amount, of the scale of humanitarian demining operation, the demining of the Black Sea? Because we remember that after the Second World War, the Baltic Sea is still full of sea mines. And these brief naval exercises before included such operations because there was a practical part in all exercises. Yes, the water area is big, the Black Sea is steep, contrary to the Azov Sea with the deepest part up to 15 meters. And of course, in upcoming years, we'll still have mines. The precondition for demining should be the end of the military armed conflict when these ships could work. And because the SEPA work, the work of deminers, are very difficult, especially when it comes to the sea, because you need to fight not only mines, but also the nature, the sea, which is not always ready to support you in your plans. And this is as for preconditions. As for the general impact and the scale of these operations, so we understand that it will take years to demine everything because Russians used quite old mines. These are anchor mines that were produced in the 1970s, 1980s. No one can just understand how they will behave because of their outdated technical conditions, and it cannot guarantee anything even for those who placed their mines in the first place. As a result of the explosion at Kakhovska HPP dam, and anchor river mines got to the sea, and usually they are brought to the coast. And other types of mines like anti-landing mines. So we have a lot still to do. And the Navy of Ukraine has already demined at least 100 anchor mines after storms that could be found on the coastline. And that's why we understand that it will take years. I have a question from a journalist watching us online. Sea breeze naval exercises always included the coastal component, and our soldiers are now trained in the UK, and perhaps they will also be involved in the exercises as for example, coastal guard component. More details about these stage of sea breeze naval exercises will be provided later. Now we're talking about the sea component, but of course it will also include the air and coast component as it used to be before. Sea breeze naval exercises were one of the biggest for Ukraine. It was usually an event for a year. And do you have some more detailed information about the consequences of the explosion at the Kakhovska HPP dam? So the huge amount of mines were brought to the sea by the Dnipro river waters. Have you examined the coast near Odessa, or in Odessa, because despite there is now a prohibition to swim, there are still cases of people swimming. Not so many as it used to be, but still these people are there in the sea. I can see that the work is constantly ongoing, and that responsible units are involved, including the State Emergency Service. They are our modern heroes that work all the time under shelling, and they constantly work with these explosive devices. There are also other units and structures. I don't have precise information as for the examination of the coastal, but I would like to say that there is the reason why it is prohibited to approach water, because even if you could there like at the knee level, you can just hit the anchor river mine or anti-landing mine. It has the metal construction in the center, and if it's the difference in the angle by 10-15 degrees, it explodes, and there is no chance that you can survive. Last year in Koblevo, we saw 2 men killed by this mine because of the violated the prohibition. And in Kherson, unfortunately, we see that such case on the left bank when a fisherman hit the river anchor mine. Nothing was left of him. So people should be very careful. And in Odessa Oblast, one man found an anchor mine, and he brought it back home. And it is only a miracle that it did not explode. The person decided that it was a gas like tank, and it was a miracle that it did not explode, and he was alive. And of course, this such examination will take place or is taking place, but you should ask the competent authorities about that. Yes. Every day, the Operative Conduct House provide information about how many ships there in the Black Sea and in the Sea. Every time they provide information about missile carriers, the possible general amount of the missiles they can launch. Sometimes there is also information about undersurface ships or craft. Do you have information about the frequency of launching missiles from, for example, submarines? Because as far as we understand, when they use underwater craft, it is more dangerous when it comes to the ordinary ships. Of course, when they use these underwater craft, sea craft, the situation is more difficult. They have now sea submarines carrying missiles. Every has up to 4 missiles. One of the submarine is being repaired now, and others, they periodically go into the sea, and one of them has been recently used. You can remember that recently there were launches of 4 calibers that was launched from the submarine. Actually, when it comes to launching, there is no big difference, but it is more difficult to detect when it is launched by a submarine. And that's why here we come back to the question why Ukraine needs the Ukrainian Navy. This is the structure that allows to work with the depths of the sea, which cannot be covered by the coastal units. Only thanks to the powerful Ukrainian Navy, we can fight such phenomena as submarines and generally the enemy's fleet, because here we need aircraft and seacraft to fight it. We cannot be successful only using the coastal systems because they all the time have like some data information. They can be hidden in the western part. And I would like to quote Vice Admiral Nish Papa, which is the head of the Ukrainian Navy, and he says that the modern protection, modern defense should be started near the coast of the enemy. Only in this case, we can ensure defense of the coastline and the civilian navigation. And actually, to ensure secure and safe civilian navigation is one of the main tasks of any country. This comes to accompanying and also to ensure safety and security in the water area. Yes, they have missile carriers, and of course, to destroy them, we need to develop the capacity of our navy and ships. As for the integration into NATO structures, I'd like to say that such minesweepers are produced by foreign countries. And so the maintenance is different, and they are designed to meet all the standards. Unfortunately, because of the war, we expedite approximation to these standards, and this modern equipment meets NATO standards. And now coming back to the topic of missile carriers. the maximum amount of missiles in the Black Sea water area they can launch is more than 50 missiles, like 2 flagships, 3 submarines, and 3 missile boats. And the relevant units, military units, which are the part of the Navy, of the naval forces, should fight them. We cannot be the state near the sea, which should be a sea state, because Ukraine is a sea state. Especially taken into consideration is that the sea was, is, and will be the main import-export channel for our country that covers a significant share of export and import of our economy. Are there any other questions from the floor? I could give floor to the last one. No, there are no questions. Then we will stop here. And we hope to see you here again with information about sea breeze exercise and some positive news for our state and our people. Thank you. Please stay tuned. The next briefing will take part at 1 p.m. It will be dedicated to so-called mutiny of Yevgeny Prigozhin in Russia. We will have Maria Kucherenko, who will be with us online. Stay tuned.